yeah, I really first wanted to get into this Time article that came out. I mean, for me, it gave me like so much life and so much energy to see, how excited he was to finally be at Ferrari, but also kind of hitting back on some of the narratives that started developing in 2024 about him that he really never like responded to, at least not as strongly as he does in this article. So the article is titled "How Lewis Finally Got His Ferrari Red." It's written by Sean Gregory. And yeah, let's get into some of this pushback of what people were saying about him in 2024. So obviously the biggest thing was Toto Wolff's comments toward the end of the year, where he, kind of talks about every driver has a shelf life. And, he also mentioned something about like cognitive decline, like a lot of shit that had Lewis's fans incensed because it's like, he took it upon himself to start trying to close Lewis's book a little bit. And Lewis has said on so many occasions, like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be the person who lets y'all know when I'm done, when I'm finished. And obviously, every athlete, there comes a time when they are no longer going to perform at the same level. But last year was some smoke and mirrors, let's just say, because just the season before, in 2023, Lewis finished nearly second in the driver championship, and Mercedes was able to retain second in the constructor championship because of some of the drives that Lewis, put on in that season. And then we get to winter break, we come to 2024, and suddenly the man can't drive. And I just feel like unless he had a brain injury that I was unaware of, or I don't know, some massive life change that we were just all unaware of, it just never really made sense how night and day this, seemed to be. Like, you just, again, athletes age, but declining in the span of a few months is just unheard of. So yeah, unless some other information comes out about like, an injury or something, I never believed it. I'm so glad that I was not led astray, led to believe that Lewis Hamilton was washed or anywhere near it. The W15 is trash. The W14 is trash. And the W13 is trash. Mercedes, simply put, has not gotten the regulations right the entire time that we've, had them. And to see them kind of like blame that on Lewis's aging specifically, as if he's not the one who was guinea pig testing the car these past 3 seasons to try to get it to something drivable, is actually insane. Like, when you really, really peep it, like, it's extremely crazy how they try to pin the failure of race wins and performance improvement on Lewis when he actually was the guy testing the car the most and helping bring the car back to some sort of like standard, their standard. So of course, after all of that, there's like a shit ton of negativity about him. Everybody couldn't wait to kind of like throw dirt on his name, dance on his grave, like all that stuff. Like, everybody just wanted this narrative that he was no longer a top performing athlete to be true so bad. And yeah, he just kind of like took it on the chin. But in this article, he gets his lick back. So my favorite quote or passage from this article, like the minute I read it, I was like, thank God we are so fucking back. He says, "Don't ever compare me to anybody else. I'm the first and only Black driver that's ever been in this sport. I'm built different. I've been through a lot. I've had my own journey. You can't compare me to another 40-year-old, past or present Formula One driver in history because they are nothing like me. I'm hungry, driven, don't have a wife and kids. I'm focused on one thing, and that's winning. That's my number one priority." Like, where was this guy in 2024? Like, I really needed him to pop out. I was begging. I was like, I just need him to just pop his shit one good time. But I feel like also at the same time, he probably was feeling less confident. Maybe like something was wrong with him. I know he mentioned a few times, like, I think, what was the quote about like maybe Kimmy will be better or whatever. Like, he was just like in his emo shit. And I get it, because you suddenly are not able to perform at the same level, no matter what you do. Like this car setup, just you change session to session, and there's no way to know that the car's going to behave the way that you're hoping it does. So I can understand why his confidence was definitely shaken in the past year. But at the same time, I was just like hoping that there was like old Hamilton somewhere down there, like waiting to like emerge again. And like, imagine saving all that up and then getting it out in like a Time article. It's just boss shit. So that happened. And then the other narrative that emerged, and this is like kind of maybe more amongst the fans, although there were some pundits who kind of kept harping on the fact that like Carlos Sainz was being replaced by Lewis Hamilton and almost making it seem like, Lewis Hamilton stole Carlos Sainz's job. Now, we all know that's not true. Like, honestly, there's like a bubble in F1. And I feel like within that bubble are people who just believe that no matter what Lewis Hamilton does, he does not deserve opportunities, right? Like if it was up to them, they'd 1000% keep Carlos Sainz on Ferrari and pass on Lewis because I don't know. I don't understand the logic. From the sporting side, from the marketability side, like it's not even close. So I never understood that narrative. But to make it even more interesting, this also really stood out to me. And this was kind of like a timeline of the events of how Vasseur got in contact with Lewis. Now, the article talks about how Lewis got a call from Vasseur in December 2023 when he was at home in Colorado, basically asking him to join Ferrari in 2025. But I think the more interesting article the more interesting quote is from an article that just came out. And this is actually from Vasseur himself. And he says that they started talking about it at the Monaco Grand Prix in 2023 on May 28th, my birthday to be precise. Vasseur told Auto Hebdo, "I quickly realized that it could happen. I knew that the desire was there on his side, that it had always been there. In fact, it wasn't possible on our side for 2024 because we had both our drivers under contract." So I don't know. I read that kind of like 2023 Monaco was, I think, only like 5 or 6 races into the season and into Fred Vasseur's like first, full season as team principal. So by that point in the season, he'd already made his mind up that, I'm going to get in touch with Lewis and see if he wants to be our driver soon. Like, I mean, hello? Like, Lewis didn't steal anybody's anything. Like, they had already been plotting to make this happen. Like, on my birthday, I'm not thinking about making business phone calls and negotiating stuff, but Fred was like, let me just give this man a ring and see what it is. So that was the weekend that we saw the "Hello, Lewis" from Charles, and that smirk from Pierre Gasly, who we later find out also was aware of these talks between Ferrari and Lewis. So in hindsight, everything looks way, way like more interesting because this has been something that's been going on for a long time between Vasseur and Lewis. But he says in the article, the Time article, kind of talks about how excited he was, like how he was like jumping up and down as like he was a kid. I thought that part of the article was really interesting. Just because it kind of gives you like that sense that like, even though Lewis is Lewis, like such a high level in his career, he still gets extremely like excited about stuff. And, he talks about the fact that being at Ferrari is a childhood dream. So it kind of makes sense that like the child in him like kind of leapt out and the energy has kind of like come out, and just he's so celebratory, not jaded, very like humbled that they would want him on the team. So to me, I'm like, that just quiets everybody talking shit about Lewis, taking this man's job, and everybody mourning Carlos Sainz. Like, please get a grip. I'm glad that they included this because I'm just like, y'all need to shut up. Like, you think Lewis deserves no opportunities and that everything he gets, he's taking it from somebody else, when really it's because of him working so hard all these years that he's in a position where Ferrari has been wanting to poach him. And it hasn't just been 2023. This has been talked about many times before. John Elkann comes to mind. And So yeah, the cards, the planets aligned as Fred kind of mentions. I also love the fact that he says like, it wasn't possible on our side for 2024. So like, was Lewis trying to dip out in 2024? Like imagine if as fans, we did not have to experience 2024 at Mercedes. Like that's the alternate, timeline I would personally like to be on, to be quite honest. Because 2024 Mercedes was like so fucking painful and so annoying. So then the last thing that I really loved hearing from Lewis was sort of like his perception moving into the future. He says that he believes that he and Leclerc are the strongest team pairing in the sport and that Verstappen is, quote, absolutely beatable. He says, I know exactly where the North Star is. I know where I need to go. I know how to get there. It's far and it's going to be tough to get there, but I know I've got all the ingredients, all the people, an amazing team around me. So it's how much you want it, and I can't express how much I want it. So this is Lewis finally feeling confident again. Again, stark contrast just the year before where he didn't know if he'd ever be a race winner again. If he didn't know, if he would kind of feel like himself again. And to me, for him to say flat out that he and Leclerc are the strongest driver pairing is just, again, him coming back into like his body, coming back into his mind of like, yeah, I'm him. Like, why shouldn't I, feel like I'm a contender or feel like I'm worth putting, some support behind. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for this Lewis to emerge. Like we needed this guy for this exact moment. And so keep in mind, according to this article, they did this interview on February 14th. So by this point, we haven't even done preseason testing in Bahrain. He's only tested, I think, 2 of the older Ferraris at this point. Like, he really doesn't have much to go off of, except for the fact that some energetic shift has occurred. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that he feels this confident before even getting to the first race. Yeah, he was just like, I'm going to let you guys know beforehand. I'm not going to wait until the car feels a certain way. I'm letting you know how I feel. So yeah, I feel like this is a really good sign for the season ahead. And, as a fan, obviously, I'm excited to hear him just pop his shit. But for him, more so because I'm just like, sometimes he has this tendency to just, he wants to do his talking on the track. That's his infamous, saying. But every once in a while, I just wish he would just talk his shit, like for real, because he's the only one who can actually do that. And he just needs to do it more often. So I really just feel like this season period is just going to be a lot of fun. But especially for Lewis fans, like, baby, we have been in the trenches, okay? Like, we are God's strongest soldiers, thugging it out for the past, like, few seasons. But that last season was horrendous. It was torture. It was bad enough that the car was shit, but, like, all the other, like, narratives that were forming around that season just was, like, absolute trash. Like, 0 out of 10 stars. Don't recommend. So just on the fact that we are on the up and up in terms of energy, in terms of confidence, I'm already a happy camper. So in general, this is just a good article to read. There's so much more. There are so many good, like, little gems. Like, he says basically retirement's nowhere on his radar, and that the way he feels right now, he could race until he's 50. Like, mind you, like, like not even a few years ago, he was saying like, I don't want to be here when I'm 40. Like, I want to have a wife and kids. Like, I want to have a whole, next part of my life figured out by now. And now that he's 40, he's like, actually, I think I might, stay. So I'm here for it. I'm happy to stay. As long as he's here, I'm here. As long as he's happy, I'm happy. But yeah, I thought that was even interesting as well, because it's like, not only am I not retiring anytime soon, it might be a whole other decade before I go. So that was good. But yeah, the whole article, the spread, the photos are amazing. These beautiful, like, black stallions for the shoot. The clothes are, like, clean and minimal. Like, he looks good. The shoot is amazing, and the article is great as well. So definitely give it a read before the season starts. Thank you so much for tuning into Supersoft Radio. If you enjoyed that segment, you can find the full episode and my full episode playlist. And if you enjoyed this, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you around for future uploads and be part of the community. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.